Hey, good evening and welcome to Wednesday Night Favorites. This is a show on Prog Monster. I am Murph, your host. This is a show about progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here to do those great, most iconic rock bands, Part B. I don't know if that's the actual title. Can't remember it actually because senility is setting in. However, we pretty much get the idea, and you'll have to excuse me for 1 minute because this phone will not shut up. Okay, that's better now. So here we are. So the 25 most iconic rock bands in history. This is part B, which would be, I guess, 26 through 50. So we're going to do it as a 25 anyways. I don't want to go there. So these are the 25 most iconic rock bands, part B. So anyways, we're going to start by going backwards. That's the way I normally do it. So I choose the least most iconic band all the way up to the most iconic band. There's going to be a lot of discrepancy here. A lot of people will have issues with some people I left off. Others will think some bands are iconic, which I don't really think they are. They are loved by certain groups and their fans, yes. But why are they iconic? I don't really know. So the ones I wasn't so sure about, and there's lots of them that won't even get on my honorable mentions because I just don't think they're that iconic. But I will say something about them at the end. Lots of them I like quite a bit too. Like there's at least 4 right off the top of my head that I can think of that are bands that I think should be iconic, who I think should be well known, that I think should be loved by everybody, but they're not. So okay, anyways, and I guess it's because the general population just wants music they can listen to on the radio that's not too hard on their ears, and that isn't always the case with some of these bands I like. So we're going to start with the least up to the most iconic, and this of course is just my personal views on it. It doesn't mean that they're the definitive list of most iconic bands in the history of music. Everybody puts out one of these lists, and you'll get people that will completely ignore some band that definitely should be on there. I'm not going to do that. There's some bands on here I detest. I do not like them at all. I don't want to even think about them. I don't own anything by them. I have no interest in owning things by them. And actually surprised me, I did have some props for even those bands. But they're on here because of my vision of what that most iconic band is. And I hope you guys will spend me some latitude and please put your own most iconic bands down there. And then I'll give a little bit of a list of honorable mentions, which easily could have made a third list, but I'm not going to do a third list. I'm going to do another list though, but it will be on those great, most iconic solo artists. There's tons of them too, but we'll get into those when we get to them. So for today, we will start out with the one that I think is the least most iconic, so number 25. If you were doing a 26 to 50, this would be number 50. But I'm not going to keep repeating that. I'm just going to say it the once, and then I'm going to do it that way. So coming in at number 25 or number 50, as I said I would, I think this band has to be on any iconic list. And if you're doing a top 50 of all time, they're definitely in there. ZZ Top. This is maybe not one of their greatest albums. It's one that I have and I like them. I do like their music. I don't know how much I want to spend collecting their stuff. If I see it out there for a reasonable price, I'll grab it, but I'm not going out of my way to get any. But still, great band. They have an image. Everybody knows when they're talking about ZZ Top, they all know what you're going to see when you see them. And they had lots of hits and were well liked by mainstream in a lot of ways, I think, and maybe not in a lot of ways, but still iconically loved by their fans and a lot of people out there in general. So ZZ Top. Next up is going to be, sorry, I'm going to refer to my list because I don't have props for all of these and some of the props might blow away. So the next band out we did on Ben's album challenge, those great albums of 1970, 84 that we did the other day, and they deserve to be on there. And I've actually been looking for a box set by them, and number 24 is the Cars. Number 23 is a band I don't know a lot about. I've listened to some of their stuff. I've heard some of their stuff. I've listened to people talk about them on the thing, and they seem like a band I should get into, so I will start looking for their stuff. They're a band that I think have a lot of promise for me in my history, in my future, and I think I will be listening. I'm going to copy it out. Can't see that. It says, oh man, I don't even know where to put it. Chicago. There it is. Chicago's number 48. Sorry. Number 23. I'll try not to do that again. Actually, you know what? I have them marked down here that way. Maybe I should just go with that. We'll just go with that. What the hell, right? The next band up is a band that I listened to quite a bit when I was younger. I never actually owned any of their albums. Not really sure why. Just it was always something I wanted more at the store, I guess. And so this one I just got. It was part of that yard sale I talked about before, and so I got it. It was part of that deal, and it's a good prop, anyways. The Scorpions coming in at number, what did I say? 47. We're gonna do it that way. That makes more sense because I already have it written here. So number 46 is a band that I like quite a bit. Listen to them, the same type of thing as the Scorpions. I listened to them quite a bit when I was younger. They've had a lot of popularity recently because of the death of one of their members, and they've always been kind of up there, and people know who they are and they know their songs, and because they have some famous members. We're talking about CSNY. You can see it there, CSNY. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, for those of you who don't know who they are, but I can't imagine nobody would not know who they are. And for me, they come in at number 46 on the most iconic rock bands. So the next one up is another prop that I have. It's not a band I listen to much. They're a bit too jammy for me. They do have their cultish following, though, maybe the most cultish following of any rock band in history. And there are people that generally like some of their music here and there, but they seem to endlessly tour. And we're talking about the Grateful Dead. Yep. Don't have any props for them either. Probably never will be, but there might be. You never know. Okay, the next band I quite love quite a bit. They're coming in at number 44. A great band who I think didn't do enough albums, but the ones they did were fantastic, all of them. I'm talking about the Police. Yeah, I think they're very iconic. A lot of people know these people. This band has a lot of songs still kind of relevant to modern times too. So the Police, number 44. Number 43, I debated putting them on here. They haven't been overly relevant in decades, but there are still a lot of people in my age group and older who still think highly of these guys and still ask me if I ever listen to their music, and I do like their stuff quite a bit. And it's the Four Seasons. This is the greatest hits album. I do not have any of their studio albums, possibly because they're probably hard to find, and I don't even know that they have that many to begin with. I never really searched on it, but they do have a lot of songs that I like. So number 42, we're getting into the second part of this sheet here, is a band that I absolutely detest. I cannot even stand the fact that I own this album. It's considered one of the great rock albums of its time and of the 80s. The band, I don't know, did much after that. They probably had several albums after that, but they're constantly on internet for putting on people wanting to go see them. They're on their final tour. They're back together. They fight amongst each other all the time. There's so many things about them, but I think they got to be on this band, on this list. We're talking about Guns N' Roses. Yes, you know, Appetite for Destruction, considered by many people that follow this kind of music to be one of the greatest albums of all time. I am not arguing. Why is there 5 guys on here? Is there actually 5 guys in Guns N' Roses at that time? Really? Who's the other guy? I don't know. I'm sure somebody will pipe up and tell me who it is. Not that I care. But anyways, Guns N' Roses got to be on a list of this magnitude. They're just too influential. It's too well known. They just released a top shelf album, and I actually loved this album when it first came out. I've grown to detest the band though. But on a whole, they got to be on this list. So if you're going to be biased, then don't even bother doing a list. So Guns N' Roses, or g.n.r if you prefer to call them. Now the next ones I do not have props for, but I do like. This next band I like a lot. I just haven't got around to getting any of their albums because you can only buy so much, and you know what it's like in the store. I always buy too much, way too much. Anyways, this is Slayer, one of the big four of the metal bands that came out in the 80s. They have some really good stuff, especially their early on stuff. I find I like quite a bit. Definitely a band that I need to get into. They're well known in the rock universe as one of the big four, and many people will listen to their stuff, at least, but they do have a cult kind of following as well, and most of the guys who like metal will like them. So I think Slayer's 41. Number 40 should have been on the first list, would have been on the first list if not for the fact that they just had problems getting into North America. They had lots of issues, and even though they were part of the British wave of music that came here and invaded North America in the 60s, they didn't get to participate till the 70s, and I think it really hurt their status, I think, worldwide. So a lot of people, this band's kind of faded away to nothing, which is unfortunate, because at one point I think they were right there alongside the Beatles and the Who as being one of the great bands of all times, and the Stones as well. And we're talking about the Kinks. A lot of really iconic albums, a lot of really iconic music I like a lot. I don't have any of their albums because I had them all on vinyl. I had 3 or 4 on vinyl, and I never replaced them, but I will replace them eventually. The next band is a band I don't care for too much, but I don't hate them either. They're just, to me, they're non-existent, but I know that they just got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Their drummer just passed away, and they're a band that has a lot of following, and a lot of people love this band. They get a lot of airplay, they tour a lot, they do a lot of stuff, and we're talking about the Foo Fighters. Any band with Dave Grohl in it is okay, even if one of them was Nirvana. But Foo Fighters deserve to be on this iconic list, and they are. I think that's the third non-prop in a row. The next one I do have a prop for. This is a band that I liked a lot early in my life, because of Bachman Turner Overdrive, but they've had some huge success in the States and North America. I don't know that they're as iconic as I've made them out to be. I don't know how they're viewed worldwide or by the mainstream. They faded a lot in time. Probably don't deserve to be on this list. Some of these other bands probably more deserving, but being a Canadian and all, I think that to me they're very iconic, so maybe that drags their overall iconic legend up a bit. And we're talking about the Guess Who and their album. This is the album I have, American Woman, which also has No Time, No Sugar Tonight, like lots of great stuff by these guys. When Friends Fall Out, Proper Strangers, yeah, just like some really good stuff on this album. And they, to be honest with you, they should be, they should have been bigger than they were. I don't really know why they weren't. They probably should be part of that group of bands that almost is iconic, But I put them on the iconic list. Maybe I will change my mind at some point when somebody knocks me down for it. The next band up is a band that I did like quite a bit when I first started listening to them maybe 2 decades ago. I don't know why, I enjoyed their music, and then it just faded, and now I see them as being a little bit pompous and overblown, and I used to hate it when I'd hear rock radio saying this is the greatest rock band in history. I say, are you out of your mind? Get out of here. But they do deserve to be on the iconic list because they've had so many great hits. They've established themselves as world musicians. They're known all over the world, and that's U2. And I chose this album, The Joshua Tree. I think it's probably their best album, but I don't know for sure. I don't follow them at all anymore. So the next band up is a band I've owned nothing by, but I have listened to quite a bit, but I do recognize their greatness, especially producing that South-sounding music from the United States. I don't know how big they are in the rest of the world, but I know they're huge. with a lot of people that listen to this kind of music, and I think you have to have at least one band of this ilk on here. I think I have several, but I think there's at least one. And these guys are fairly well known, fairly well respected, and they're both gone now, of course, but we're talking about the Allman Brothers. Yeah, maybe they deserve to be on this list, and then again, maybe they don't. I'm not really sure. I think that I know about them, and I've asked other people who don't really listen to music, do you know who the Allman Brothers are? Yes, they know who they are. So to me, if a common person who doesn't really listen to a lot of music but does listen to the radio a lot knows who the Allman Brothers are, I think that's iconic, in a lot of ways. Okay, next up is a band that I detest. I did like them quite a bit at one point, I guess, but only for maybe one or two albums. I never really seen the purpose of this band, but they've sold a ton of albums. They were popular when they were a big band, huge, well-known band, and I still think they have a large following of lots of people that still listen to their stuff, and this is one of the albums they listen to, and I don't even know why I have it. Def Leppard. This is Hysteria. To me, this is just crap. But anyways, they're well known. I think they deserve to be on this list. Maybe they're a little bit too high up. Maybe they should have been a little bit further down. Some of these bands I'm looking at that didn't make the list I like better, but it's very difficult to, this is very subjective, so it's very difficult to know what people like and don't like, but I think this band is well liked. Okay, next one is another one of those southern bands. This one I think deserves to be on here for sure. Definitely iconic, lots of great albums, lots of great stuff, lots of legendary songs, and there's nobody left in the band from the original band, but they're still playing together too. So we're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yeah, great. Yeah, love this band. I did love them quite a bit more when I was younger too. I haven't listened to them as much as I used to, but I know that they are still well received by many people. Okay, now we're at number 33. This is a band that should have been in the top 25 easily, but they just never put out enough albums. They were too spaced. They spaced their albums out too many, and now here it is, like some 50 years later almost, and they still don't even have that many albums, like maybe 6 or 7. Yeah, but the first 3 are good. Boston's Third Stage. This is the one I'm using for the prop today. Lots of good. This has Amanda on it, in case people don't know, but everybody knows who Boston is. They're well known for nothing other than that first album. It's kind of like Guns N' Roses. That first album was a monster for them, and they get a lot. They milked a lot out of that album, But it's a great album, so how can you think they deserve to be on the iconic list to me. Next up, a band that I love, absolutely love this band. They're a top 20 band for me. Worldwide, I think they're well known. They're considered one of the founders of heavy metal. They have a iconic sound. They have a lot of really solid albums early on. I don't know so much later, but they're still making stuff, and they just got into the Hall of Fame not too long ago, and that's Judas Priest. Yeah, this is my favorite particular album by them, but yes, great band, deserve to be on this list, and they are number 32. The next 6 bands I think all could have made the front list as well, but there's only 25 spots, so somebody has to go to the second list, and these were the bands I decided to put on the second list. So first one up, in number 31, could have easily been 25 or 24 or 23, such a great band. Not a band that I listen to much, but I do appreciate their abilities, their musicality, and people have argued with me about this band. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. You can't pretend, oh yeah, that's great. And meanwhile, you don't like it, that's just phony, so I'm not doing that. We're talking about Kansas here, of course, and this album is a fantastic one. Next up is a band I find very similar, at least early on, to Kansas. They kind of had a similar start, I think, in a lot of ways. This band diverged greatly from that and has become more of a pop giant, and has songs that made the charts like 30 years after they were released, and they're still going strong and people still love them, and I think they deserve to be on this list. They're not a band I listen to a lot, but I do appreciate their abilities and their musicality. And we're talking about Journey. You know, it's great. Great band. What can you say? Number 30. Number 29 is a band that I don't know a lot about. I've listened to, I own a couple of their albums. I've been listening to them slowly, learning them. But I see that they're like one of the progressive metal giants. Many people like this. I see them talked about on every show. I think the average person knows who they are as well. Maybe not all the average persons, but a lot of them. And so I'm going to put Dream Theater on this as well. They come in at number 29. The next four are, the next three are all great. I love them all. Easily could have made the first list. If it was up to me to pick them, they would be on that list. So the number 28, Supertramp. At one time, this would have been a no-brainer for that front 25, but if their popularity is kind of faded, some people don't even know who they are. It just mind boggles me. You don't even know who Supertramp is? That just blows my mind. People bugging me again. The next one up, another band who I think is, their status is maybe greater than they actually are. They had 5 great albums, and then they had a bunch of poppy shit in the 80s. But it's increased their status. Like, there's a lot of people out there who know who they are and love the female's vocalist sound of her voice and love that classic stuff. And then there's people that like the other stuff. But they're still fairly well known, and I think they deserve to be on a list of iconic bands. Heart, I chose Magazine for this one, maybe one of their least earlier albums. Okay, and then the last band that pained me to not put on that front list, I just think that they just didn't quite make it. Yeah, they're big, especially in North America. I don't know how big they are elsewhere in the world, but definitely huge, gigantic here in North America. One of my favorite all-time bands, a band that deserves complete and utter recognition for all the greatness that they are, and I think could have easily made that 25th spot. But today they're coming in at number 26, so they're the top of this list, as they were at the top of Ben's list. And we are talking about Styx. And I chose Pieces of 8 instead of Grand Illusion this time, but they do have some great albums. So I'm just going to read them all. I don't want to try and pick up the paper props I had, so we're just going to go with the reverse order. So so the greatest, most iconic bands, number 26 is Styx, number 27 is Heart, number 28 is Supertramp, number 29 Dream Theater, number 30 Journey, number 31 Kansas, number 32 Judas Priest, number 33 Boston, number 34 Leonard Skinner, number 25 Def Leppard, number 35 Def Leppard, number 36 the Allman Brothers, number 37 U2, number 38 the Guess Who, not that rhymed, number 39 Foo Fighters, number 40 the Kinks, the band should have been much higher, number 41 Slayer, number 42 g.n.r, yes g.n.r, number 43 the Four Seasons, number 44 the Police, number 45 the Grateful Dead, number 46 Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, number 47 the Scorpions, number 48 Chicago, a band I know once I start getting into them they're going to be much bigger than they are in my viewing. Number 49 the Cars, another band like Chicago, same place, and ZZ Top, number 50. So who do you think I picked for honorable mentions? Well, there's tons, and I'm sure I missed a ton as well. And there's some bands that I don't think are iconic, but are well liked by the people who like them. So we got Blondie, definitely an iconic band. Toto, yes, for sure. Foreigner, I think Foreigner was one of those bands I almost put on this list. The Yardbirds, maybe more to older people than to younger people, but definitely should be mentioned here. Jefferson Airplane for the same reason. Steppenwolf again for the same reason. Whitesnake had its iconic period. I don't think it's done much since then, so I'm not sure it's an iconic band, but I think it should be. Triumph, definitely Triumph. If you're viewing it from a Canadian, yeah, they got to be there. They're big in the States too, but I just don't think they had much the rest of the world, and that's what hurt them, I think. Marillion, the same thing. Great with the people who like them. Fantastic, well liked, by the prog community and at whole. But how are they viewed outside the prog community? I don't even know if they're viewed, really. I don't even know if they should be on here, really, to be honest. Nazareth, another band. Some great tracks, well-known tracks. Maybe more iconic than a lot of these other bands, but I don't know that they've had much life since then, right? Motley Crue is a band I can't stand. Wish they never existed. However, they do, and they do have iconic status. They have to. There's just too many things they've done, and the music's not great, but they've as a television entity, they're huge. Megadeth and Anthrax, the other two members of the four, both of them need to be mentioned here. Whether they're iconic or not, only the people that listen to that stuff could really tell me. I don't know. I think that they're well known enough that they should be on this honorable mentions list. And then there's a whole horde of other bands that I absolutely love that I did not mention as iconic or as honorable mentions because I don't think... Everything's falling over here. I don't think they're as iconic as I would like them to be. Bands like Gentle Giant, King Crimson, Hawkwind, BTO. List is endless, really. Great bands. Well, actually, I think BTO is, but I'm not sure about the others. You guys tell me, are they iconic bands? Do I love them? Absolutely, they're among my favorite bands, but I don't know that they deserve to be on this list. So there you have it. I hope you enjoy it and take it for what it's worth. It's just me talking about what I view. I mean, you guys may totally view this, and I'm sure this second list is even going to be hit even worse than the first list because everybody views things differently, you know. I chose Led Zeppelin over the Beatles, and some people think that's blasphemy or think that that's completely wrong, that I'm not viewing things right. And then other people will view it exactly the way I do, that Led Zeppelin is the greatest of all time. But that's just how I see it, you know, and I hope that you guys see it too, and that we all get to talk about these bands. Some of them haven't been really noticed a lot in years, and it's good that they're getting some attention because they deserve it. So anyways, I hope you have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please like and subscribe. Make all your comments. Make all your debates below. And we will see you again next Wednesday for another Favorites. Take care.